Hello, everybody. My name is Brooke Beringer, and today my persuasive speech will be on animal testing. Imagine spending your entire life trapped inside of a cage, going through super painful procedures, and ultimately being treated as a tool rather than a living being. And on top of that, to add, you have absolutely no voice to advocate for yourself. In my speech today, I will persuade my audience that animal testing for any purpose at all is ethically unjustifiable because it causes suffering to animals and it's just not right. This issue is relevant to all of us because many of us on a daily basis, without even realizing, are using some of these products that go through animal testing. These can be things like makeup, mascara, and blush, all the way to even body washes. This also matters because the way that we treat animals as a society reflects our values and leads us to consider whether scientific progress should come at the cost of animals' suffering. After researching animal testing and examining ethical arguments from different perspectives, I have gathered a clear understanding of this issue and why I believe that it is ethically wrong. Today, I will argue that animal testing is ethically unjustifiable by explaining how it treats animals as property rather than living beings, then how it produces unreliable results for us as humans, and finally highlighting the availability of effective modern alternatives that do not include animals. These testing labs treat animals as property and not how a living being should be treated at all. Animals experience fear, pain, and stress similar to how we do as humans, but in these settings, their emotions are often ignored or overlooked. Doak and Peers, in a peer-reviewed source published to Saudi Pharmaceutical Journal in 2015, said, "The pain, distress, and death experienced by the animals during scientific experiments have been a debating issue for a long time. Argument is that being alive, animals have the rights against pain and distress, and hence their use for experimentation is unethical and must be stopped. Animals are legally classified as property in many of these testing systems, which allows labs to use them in experiments without any sort of ethical protection." Bailey and Peers, in a peer-reviewed source published to Journal of Medical Ethics in 2018, said, "More than 200,000 dogs are used worldwide in harmful research and toxicity testing, experiments likely to cause pain, suffering, and distress, not conducted for veterinary purposes and often terminal, every year, with much of these used as the non-rodent species in the evaluation of the safety of new drugs and chemicals." So if animals can feel pain and fear, just like us humans, then treating them as property instead of living being raises some serious moral concerns that society can no longer choose to ignore. Although animals in testing labs are often treated as property rather than the living beings that they should be treated like, this practice gets even more concerning when we consider the fact that the results of animal testing are majority unreliable when applied to humans. Animal testing provides unreliable results for humans. Obviously, we have a lot of biological differences, so many treatments that pass animal testing later fail in human trials. That shows that success in animals does not guarantee safety or effectiveness in humans. According to Poe and Peers, in a peer-reviewed source published to Regulatory Toxicology and Pharmacology in 2024 says, "In the coming years, there will be increased efforts to develop new non-animal testing methods that are more cost-effective, robust, efficient, and provide consistent and translatable results to better predict human toxicity and accelerate innovation of new drugs supported by current science." Biological differences between humans and animals means that drugs and chemicals can affect each species differently. That makes results from animals hard to really accurately apply to people. Hoeg and Peers, in a peer-reviewed source published to the Journal of the American Medical Association in 2026 says, "Human organs, cells, and physiology differ in critical ways from all other animal species, and animal studies often fail to predict human responses, with overall drug development success rates estimated at only 10%. If animal testing is both unreliable for humans and harmful for animals, then it makes it really difficult to defend it as an ethical or necessary practice in modern science. Due to the fact that animal testing often produces unreliable results for humans, it becomes super important that we consider alternative methods that can provide more accurate outcomes without involving any suffering animals. Now, there are effective ways of testing that do not include animals. Human-based testing methods like clinical trials or microdosing studies provide much more accurate results without causing harm for animals. According to Huang and Peers, in a peer-reviewed source published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences in 2021 says, nowadays, alternative methods are available to replace animal tests in the majority of commonly studied biomedical fields, including cell-based cytotoxic testing, genotoxicity, and biochemical assay. Non-animal approaches which can replace animal tests can provide a quicker, more effective, and cheaper chemical safety assessments that function as substitutes for traditional animal experiments. These alternatives being introduced are often faster, more cost-effective, and more ethical since they reduce animal suffering and the likelihood of inaccurate results. Now, I know that the other side will argue that these human trials and computer modeling trials are not as effective as animal testing, but to be quite honest with you, animal testing does not make a whole lot of sense either. These animals are going through these procedures and different tests, and these products that they're doing that for are not even for them. They're for humans. So if these animal tests are so unreliable for humans, why don't we test them on humans and through different human-based trials to get a more accurate outcome? I mean, that's what makes sense to me, and this way animals don't have to suffer. Gerke and Peers, in a peer-reviewed source published to Trends in Biotechnology in 2026 says, the FDA hopes that phasing out animal testing will help reduce animal experimentation and enhance public health by providing safer and cheaper drugs that become more available more quickly through a faster assessment process and lower R&D costs. So let's stop animal testing. Picture a future where advanced technology like computer modeling and human-based testing replace animal experiments. In a future like this, medical research is more accurate, faster, and much more ethical. Fewer animals experience suffering, and more reliable treatments will reach people sooner. This future can happen, but it is up to the choices that we make today. Ultimately, animal testing presents serious problems that demand our attention and a shift towards better solutions. In my speech, I discussed how animal testing raises serious ethical concerns because animals are treated as property rather than living beings, how unreliable animal testing can be for humans, and the modern alternatives that can provide more accurate results without harming animals. Every day, this practice continues, and animals are still suffering everywhere. I encourage you to think of what kind of future we want to support. One that supports old methods that cause animals harm, or one that moves forward with innovation and compassion. So the next time you hear someone talking about animal testing, speak up. Use your voice to stay informed and support the efforts that replace animal testing with modern alternatives. Remember, real progress means choosing both better science and better ethics, and you can be a part of this change. Thank you.